Welcome to Ham Nation, episode 501 for August 18th, 2021. Thanks for coming out. And hello, everybody. I am Josh K0JJW. Thanks for clicking on the Ham Radio Crash Course and checking us out on Wednesday for Ham Nation. Thanks so much for doing so. We've got a busy week. Obviously, we're looking down at Huntsville coming up this weekend. I'll be there, and so I hope to see you for those that are going out. Let's bring up the hosts and get this show started. How's it going, everybody? I'll start with the big thumbs up. Don there. How's it going, Don?
Hey, it's going great. I wish I was going to Huntsville. We're missing it this year because of the virtual presentation that we did on the 10th for Young Ham of the Year on W5KUB's Amateur Radio Roundtable. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate that. That went swimmingly. If you did not see that, go check out W5KUB on YouTube and look for that. He has isolated that from the whole show. There's about a 20-minute video, and you can find it there on W5KUB. Got a big show tonight. Got a nice guest. We've got Newsline. We've got Dr. Tamitha Scove, and we've got information. Speaking of Huntsville, if you remember the family, the two young hams and the father who won the 76-10 a couple of years ago, we've got some information on how you can watch one of those kids on TV doing what he loves. That's coming up in a little bit, right after Newsline and Dr. T.
Right on. So, Gordo, how are you in this fine week?
We are fine. Been working with the Coast Guard and training for stuck transmitters, much like ham radio tea hunting. Back to you, Josh.
Right on. Joe, how's it going?
I'm doing all right. We'll be talking a bit about gas-powered soldering irons and why you might want to have one of those handy, and some low-cost options. And this is state fair time in this area, so I submitted my 8 photos to the Nebraska State Fair, and we'll see if I get a ribbon next week. I always have fun doing that. Not always, but most of the time.
Well, we're probably going to find another way for Joe to spend more of my money today, because I have a gas soldering iron, and I don't love it. They're sometimes fiddly, so I can't wait to hear what you have to say, Joe. And Amanda, rounding things off, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm staying cooler than most down in the south and out of the weather, by the way. We know there's so many tropical storms and everything coming through. Anyhow, stay tuned, everyone. I'm going to be following chat all night long, trying to chime in as much as possible. Also, we have some great guests, Bob and Joyce Whitty, and they're going to be talking all things SOTA and Colorado 14ers, so stay tuned. You don't want to miss it.
Right on. Okay, well, I think we're going to go right on to talking about our 500th episode. Obviously, we had a bit of, what would you call it? A special event? Not a special event, but, getting on the air together, if you will, for the certificate that Amanda put together. Beautiful, beautiful certificate. And so we thought we would talk to Kevin here and catch up a little bit. So why don't you guys take it away?
Yeah, welcome, Kevin. This is if anyone's gotten on the 40-meter after show net, you know who this guy is, KC7FPF. And Kevin was nice enough to do one of the special event calls. So he was Whiskey 4 Hotel. And Kevin, tell us how it's been going the last 2 weeks. You've been making lots of contacts?
Well, we're trying pretty well. I mean, of course, you're subject to the band gods, whether you be able to make any contacts or not. I've been in there plugging away every night. Last night I was in there for 2.5 hours, and unfortunately I only got like 5 contacts because of the propagation here in the southeast. But my goal is to at least break 200 tonight. So hopefully I'll break 200 tonight. So, but I'm right now I have about 178 contacts so far. So,
all right, so that brings me to my next question: is when does this end, Kev? Does it end at midnight tonight, or when?
I'm gonna say it's midnight Eastern tonight. So that by after we get through with the webcast and everybody their last chance to try and get in here. Now it's just not only me on 40 meters. Steve, Whiskey 7 UDI has been working on 20 meters, and I understand K7AGE has also been working. He's got over 400 contacts on FT8 so far, from what I saw earlier today. So things are moving along. One thing I do want to say that we did stress that there wouldn't be any QSL cards, but I've actually been getting some QSL cards in for that. So folks, If you want to send one, that's fine. I'll reply back with a personal QSL along with one of the previous special events for Ham Nation. But for this particular event, there are no QSLs, just the certificate. And also with that, please give us 30 days after the event ends, and then the link will be provided where you can go and download your certificate. So, and that's, from what I understand, is going to be working out just fine. So just give us a time to correlate all the logs, and we'll be more than happy to get you that certificate if you'll work one of us. And
I want to mention that a big thanks to Lou for doing that NO2C from GBARC. There's too many acronyms there, but anyhow, he had graciously volunteered to do that, and he said, well, in return, I'd just like to do one of the 1x1 calls. So I think if any of you have been lucky enough, you've been able to work Whiskey 2 Hotel as well. Don has been very active on the HF bands as well, haven't you, Don?
I have. I was doing 20 and 40, not every night, but as time would allow, and I got on last night for about an hour and a half, and I think I wrapped up with it's either 168 or 186 contacts, all on phone, 20 and 40. And I've been doing the QSL card thing too. In fact, I mailed out 6 yesterday. I've probably gotten 10 or 12 total. And what I was doing is I was giving them a threefer. I said, if you send me a QSL card with an SASC, and I only got one without an SASC, so got to have an SASC. Sorry about that. But I've been sending them one of my personal cards. I've been sending them an amateur radio newsline card and one of the Ham Nation 300 cards for those who mention Ham Nation 300. So they've been getting the threefer from me. But yes, it's been great fun. I've really loved doing it.
It has been, and I really enjoy kind of just hearing everyone say thank you so much. I can't believe it's been 500. I promised everyone that I worked that I would retire after 1,000 episodes. I don't know where you all are, but that's my retirement.
I live long enough. I talked to a brand new general last night that just got his general sometime this month. So in the last couple of weeks, and I'm one of the first ones in his contact in his logbook. And I said, absolutely. If you have a QSL card, and he said, yeah, I do. I said, well, good. Send me one, and I absolutely want to get a card from you. So I'm looking forward to that.
Great. And again, our other net controls, I'd like to thank them too. W7UDI, you guys, I can't remember everybody's call sign, so my apologies. But the DMR net people who started very slow, because D-Star was really popular, right? Everyone wanted to get on D-Star after show nets, and DMR just kind of snuck in there and slid in there, and it's also getting a little bit of traction. So thanks to you guys for toughing it out. But D-Star, man, has been our longest going net, I think. And Paul has been absolutely fantastic with running that every week. And if he can't do it, or every other week at this point in time, if he can't do it, he finds an alternative to do it to keep it up and running. So thanks everyone for checking into all those after show nuts. We really appreciate the support every week. And then the newest thing we brought into it was Discord, right, Josh? So
that's right.
Well, hey, not everyone has. We have so many newcomers anymore into the hobby. They got their license before they even got a radio. So here's this technologically advanced way, in a sort of way, for them to still join in and participate and be able to get certificates. So we appreciate that.
The cool thing about that is probably even someone who maybe is not a ham but watches and is in the process of maybe studying for their license or just getting interested in it, they could participate as well via Discord. I think.
That's right.
Exactly.
And we'll be doing that tonight.
It's not left out.
We'll be doing that tonight too. Yeah.
Excellent.
I really like that. So Kev, we brought you on for 2 purposes. You wanted to show off a couple things that you had been doing during your lockdown in the pandemic, not necessarily Ham Nation related, but definitely ham radio related. So Josh is going to roll some photos, and you get to tell us what you're doing.
As we know, everybody was kind of, so to speak. So I came up with this idea with the guys here where I live here in Ocala, and we called it the QSL party. So a bunch of us together hooked up our radios in the front yard, and my wife catered everything. So we just played radio in my front yard with portable setup. So that was my portable setup right there for doing FTA and PSK 31. Of course, you see the batteries and the FT 897 and the computer and all that. So that's what I did. I sat there and I did that. We got about 3 contacts, but that's okay. We all had a good afternoon sitting out there playing radio and eating food and drinking tea and stuff. So if you want to go to the next slide. And now that is an antenna I was testing for a friend of mine. his name Jim Trapani. He manufactured the Tunematic automatic antenna tuner, and we were testing this out. These are two of the huge screwdriver antennas going into a dual control. So that was the first day that operationally checked out, and it worked pretty well. You have to sync in both antennas, but later modification, they actually worked with one button to sync both antennas at the same time to find a good spot for SWR. So of course it's gone on to tweak a little bit more. So hopefully this will be a product coming out later this year. So you want to go to the next slide, please? There again, they're set up for doing digital, and like any yeah, FT8, FT4, and PSK31. I still play PSK31. So for those out there that don't do FT8, I still play PSK31. So like I said, I had a good day, and it was also a good test for a couple of new items that I got. If you look over on the far left-hand corner of the table, you'll see where that dual controller is, and that's what I was using to control that antenna. So, wow. Want to go to the next one there, Josh? Now, everybody knows that Al, K0JJW, moved to Florida. Well, he actually he lives about 30 miles from me here, and he brought his Maestro with his remote setup. So he was also there playing radio, connected to his Flex 6600 back at his home there in the Villages. So that's been interesting to see that. And with his cell phone, the application there, he was able to control his amplifier remotely. So he could, when it was transmitting, what it was transmitting, and SWR and all of that. So that was, I kind of took a shine to that.
That's a really nice setup, by the way. And I want to, while you're mentioning Al, I just want to say I really miss Al as being one of the co-net controls. K1LTJ, I think it was, is his call sign. And Al, if you're watching, we miss you, buddy. Come join us anytime. All right, go ahead, Kevin. Sorry.
That's okay, Amanda. Go ahead to the next one there, Josh. And here, this setup here was actually two setups. One was the ICOM 7200 sitting right there, also running off a battery, and the little box to the right of that is 800 milliwatt 40 QRP radio for doing CW. So they actually made more contacts with a buddy pole on a tripod. So he had fun playing that, and that was 800 milliwatts on a buddy pole. So there you go, folks that still want to play QRP. It's still out there. You just have to work at it a little bit. So, all righty, go ahead and go to the next one, if you would, please. Now, there's the buddy pole that they were using for the CW QRP radio. So you can see it sitting on a tripod with the buddy pole connected to the tripod there. So, and it worked really well. So everybody had a good time doing that. I'm learning CW, but I haven't been that good with it just yet. I cheat. I use a keyer once in a while. So there you go. All righty. I think we got a couple more. And there's Al, K1LTJ, sitting there and enjoying the day. Now, mind you, there's another shot of him. And that's my other guy here in Ocala. That's Dave Smith, KJ4 MGM or MDM. And that's his 7200 over there. So you can see we had wires strung out everywhere, and going forward there. Now the first slide that Josh showed, that's one of those bio-NO solar panels that got connected to the batteries, or one of the batteries to trickle charge the battery. So, and that was the actual first time I was able to. Oh no, second time I was able to try that. The first time was field day last year. So. Really pleased. It works really well just to keep a trickle charge on the batteries. So, okay, and there's and there's the solar panel. So, and then what we did, we actually moved it a little bit as the sun, moved across the sky during the day, so it would still get full sunlight.
Well, it looks like it was a fantastic time, and I'm glad that you guys were responsible, social distancing, all that good things. So thank you so much for sharing with us, and we'd all like to thank you for being in Net Control all of these years, every after show. There you are.
I've actually forgotten how long I'm doing it now. I tried to figure out the other day how long I've been doing it, and I honestly don't remember when I started, so I can't tell you.
Amazing. It's been a long time, that's for sure.
Yeah,
so,
it has.
Anyhow, thanks. He's actually Kevin's going to go and get on the air here real soon. And Steve W7UDI says, as soon as Kevin's done, I'm getting on the air as well. So go work those 1x1s or catch the show, watch the show later, whatever you need to do to get on the logs. So
well, this way, like here, I'm on the East Coast. So it'll be midnight my time, and then whenever midnight hits for Steve on the West Coast. So and
there you go.
And anything in between there. So, but now if we do go beyond midnight, if there's still stations there, I'll be more than happy to work you to get you in the log. So I don't have a problem with that.
All right, and I'll try to sneak on somewhere. All right, Kev, we're gonna let you go. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
You're welcome, guys. Have a good one, and I'll be on the air. Look for me in the chat when I find a frequency that's open.
Very good. All right.
Make sure you tell Al hello for us too. We miss that guy.
Yeah, we do. I miss him.
Sure, we will. You guys take care. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Yeah.
All right, let's kick it over to Gordo. Gordo, what do you got for us tonight?
Well, I've got to compliment Kevin for his portable operation. And one of my favorite battery sources, actually it's the ultimate for me, is the KO0NR. And this is the 12 amp hour battery, 12 amp hours. It weighs a whopping 3 pounds, and you can run an HF radio on it for probably 2 or 3 hours, not continuous duty, but talk and listening, and it's ready to roll. So I sure encourage KO0NR, and look them up, BIOENNO Power, and they're located in Santa Ana. And he's a ham that runs it, and he loves operating portable like Kevin. Well, we got a big event coming up this weekend, and Josh, if we can go on over there. Well, first tune in to Don W6 GPS. Don Arnold is showing his pre-programmed Huntsville ham radio handheld. Well, it's not a Huntsville handheld, but it's a couple of years ago, it was the premier radio with all sorts of neat things on it, the Kenwood D74. Well, Huntsville been doing their ham fest since the 50s. It's always called the friendliest ham fest. And of all the Huntsville ham fests that I've attended, we'll see some of the shots, they indeed are a friendly troop. Most folks get into Huntsville on either Thursday or Friday, and that's this Thursday or Friday, and they take up the U.S. Space and Rocket Center. Space Camp is where the kids go, and well, the kids have to do Space Camp in advance, but as a team, they're sent all over the place other than into outer space. But when you go to the U.S. Space and Rocket Center, and by the way, the hotel has a vehicle that regularly takes you there, so it's not like you got to get a rent-a-car. You'll see rockets, you'll see everything. So be sure and take it in, those of you going to Huntsville this weekend, the U.S. Space and Rocket Center, about a 15-minute drive from where the Huntsville Ham Fest is. Well, the Huntsville Ham Fest is right adjoined to the Hilton Embassy Suites, and the Huntsville Ham Fest is at the Van Braun Center, and their talk-in frequency is 146.94. This year, I am told that they are doubling the exhibit space to give everybody more room to spread out. And this alone is the swap tables. That's right. They too will be expanded out. And one of the neat things about Huntsville is that they will allow, normally, and I'm sure they will this coming weekend, those that are taking part in the indoor air-conditioned swap meet to come in nice and early and bring their vehicle right into the Van Braun Center to do the loading and unloading. Many other Hamfests will relegate the swappers outside, which I always enjoy an outside swap meet. But Huntsville says, come on in and enjoy the cool air as well as the camaraderie with all the other vendors. They said they have about 50 vendors that have expressed an interest in being there. And along with the vendors, and that, of course, is the swap meet folks taking stuff out of their vehicles. But ICOM America will, I'm sure Ray will be there. And ICOM always has a huge showing, and there'll be a lot more room and a lot more breathing area. So for those of you doing Huntsville, give everybody some room. If you recognize somebody that you really enjoy talking to, give them some room. Don't get right in their face. Give them breathing room. We all need it. There's plenty of rooms for the different forums. Now, they may be over at the wonderful Hilton Embassy Suites in one of their suite rooms, fully air conditioned, plenty of space between each of the visitors. And we did an instructor seminar for the W5YI instructor program with great success, thanks to the hotel working closely with the convention committee. Then on Friday, after some of the swap meet folks get moved in, as you can see on the left, they open up to the commercial exhibits. And again, they're going to almost double the amount of room for everyone to have plenty of room in between each of the different exhibitors there. So that's a good thing when thinking about this coming weekend. So there'll be plenty of room for everyone to spread out. And of course, they'll have forums, they'll have VE examinations, they'll have a lounge just for kids. And they'll have plenty of really interesting displays. This is Wired Co., Roger and Kimmers, and they were there a few years ago with all of their LEDs. And by the way, their LEDs are RF quiet. Just be sure, though, that you don't drive your LEDs all in a row with a pulse width modulation dimmer, because the folks on high frequency will come over and cut your cord, if not your neck. So watch out for those dimmers. They are notoriously noisy. Not the ones that Roger and Kim sell without the dimmers, but or they sell them but without any dimmers, because they too realize that they're noisy. So watch out for the dimmers. Exhibitors, they're going to take very good care of the exhibitors. There's probably going to be some pullouts just due to the pandemic that's rising. But those that are coming this weekend, the Hamfest committee at Huntsville takes care of them with breakfast, lunch, and almost dinner. But they always have a nice exhibitors room for those exhibiting. And of course, plenty of areas where you will see some interesting vehicles. And ICOM America, that sells marine radios, aviation radios, commercial radios, ham radios, boat radios, you name it. They will have they may have their MCOM unit as they have in years past. So that's always fun if they bring it to be there. And of course, we always encourage all of you to spend time and look over any Hamfest exhibitors kits, because kit building is fun. And this particular exhibitor went all out. Instead of just showing you the kits in a plastic bag, about 3 years ago at Huntsville, I got a good shot of the insides of the put together kits that they had on a storyboard. And that was always a lot of fun. And then when the gates open on Saturday morning, again, there'll be extra room this year for people to spread out. And we know that it's going to be a very successful for those that attend Huntsville. That's just days away. And if you see Don Arnold wandering around, be sure and tell him he's now a star on Ham Nation. Don was one of the very first that helped set up the radio gear here in the room, actually the audio gear for these Ham Nation casts. And of course, there's Don. Now, Don's already been to Huntsville so many times. And Don, tell us about, again, the youth get-together. And Faith, I think, was the Young Ham of the Year. Is that right, Don?
Yeah, Faith Hannah Lee, Young Ham of the Year. We did that presentation, like we said, on the 10th at w5kub.com. So check that video out on his YouTube channel. But yeah, there I am fondling one of the kits. And, you're talking about Huntsville being ultra friendly. It absolutely is. I've been going every year except for, I've only missed 3 since 1995. I love that ham fest. It is my favorite ham fest. And one of the early shots that you showed of the Friday load in showed like the size of the whole arena floor there. Now, normally they have that whole thing open so that, as you say, they can get vehicles in and out, and they have big trucks like the MFJ truck comes in and unloads, and they have all the big manufacturers with their big trucks come in and unload, and swap meet guys with trailers and stuff come in and unload. And then when it comes to showtime, they normally only take about half or maybe 2/3 of that hall. Well, this year they're taking the whole hall because, as you said, they're expanding out, and they're going to have 12-foot aisles. So there'll be plenty of room to social distance. Make sure you bring your mask, and I'm pretty sure that they will have face masks for you there if you don't have one. But just be safe, be smart, and make sure that you keep your social distancing. And that's the cool thing, is this year they're going to have plenty of room for you to do that. So you may have to talk up a little bit to, get across the space through the cloth mask, but that's okay. The whole point is to go out there and support the Ham Fest. And I love Huntsville. It's my favorite one. Absolutely has been. And they have a great youth area, as you said there. I just love the place, Gordon. I really do.
Oh, that's great, Don. And, we really compliment the Huntsville committee. What a tough decision to be one of the very first to be able to open up a big event and just hope that things don't get any worse. And, of course, they did. But Huntsville's going to persevere. And 2 days to go, and I've heard no other changes. It's going to be rolling out the stops. And don't forget, you DXers, on one of the evenings, they have a big DX banquet get-together. That's over at the hotel. And inside information, the hotel will have a slew of hospitality rooms. So if you don't see it on the main Van Braun room floor, then you walk the covered catway over to the hotel that physically adjoins the convention center and check out and see who's where, because they probably got some nice munchies upstairs somewhere. So
that's the beauty.
For sure. And they had the way out breakfast.
Right.
That's right. Thanks, Amanda, for reminding me that. So, again, we encourage those of you that are all set and attending Huntsville, be sure and say hi to Josh. Josh is going to be there. But remember, in California, we always social distance. So don't get right in our face, but get way back here, because that's just the weird way we are in California. Yeah. So Huntsville, congratulations for seeing this through in the thick of things. And we know that you're going to pull out all of the stops. And as a committee, volunteers, make this happen for Ham Radio.
And make sure when you go, look for everybody in the green shirts, the Huntsville Ham Fest staff and volunteers in the green shirts. By all means, show your appreciation. Tell them how much you appreciate them doing this, even in such tough circumstances. That's especially Mark Brown, N4BCD. He's the Ham Fest chairman. And you know that he hasn't had any sleep probably in the last month.
He's in the chat.
Mark, there you go. Mark, thank you so much for everything you do.
He's answering questions live.
Yeah, he's awesome.
We're going to miss you, Mark, and I love you, buddy, and we're going to miss you, but we're looking forward to next year and being back.
One more question, Gordo, was if you know who it is, since you've been there a lot, what was the name of the people selling the RF-friendly LEDs at Huntsville? Do you remember?
Oh, yes, that was Wired Co. WIRED Co. That's
Okay.
Roger and Kim out of Arizona. Just go to Wired Co. and search for Wired Co. And their LEDs, you see them right here down on the strip. They are strip LEDs, and they've got all sorts of them. They also have the pulse width dimmers, but remember, they'll tell you the dimmers are noisy on high frequency, so use them sparingly if you need to dim down. And a good note for all of those that have these LEDs, don't overdrive them above about 12.5 volts, because if you do them at nice and bright at sometimes 13.8 that I do, you'll see that you're going to begin to get holes where they burn out the little limiting resistors. So don't overdrive your LEDs. All right. Well, Amanda, what do you think we go over to ICOM America, who you'll probably see at Huntsville, and see what ICOM has up their sleeve?
ICOM has the base station of your dreams with the IC7851, IC7610, IC9700, and IC7300 SDR transceivers. ICOM's amateur radios are top of the line and are the first choice for contesters across the globe. Robust base stations like these cut through pileups, letting you work the bands and record those contacts. Keep your competitive edge with ICOM. Heard it, worked it, logged it. The IC7851 gives you a new window into the RF world and is HF excellence unparalleled. With faster processors, high input gain, high display resolution, and a cleaner signal, it's truly the pinnacle of HF perfection. Dual receivers, digital IF filters, memory keyer, digital voice recorder, high-resolution Spectrum waterfall display, enhanced PC connectivity, and SD memory card slot. The ICOM IC7610 is the SDR every ham wants. This high-performance SDR can pick out the faintest of signals even in the presence of stronger adjacent signals. The IC7610 is a direct sampling software-defined radio that will change the world's definition of an SDR transceiver. RF direct sampling system, 110 dB RMDR, independent dual receivers, and dual digicell. Create your own band opening with the IC9700. This transceiver brings direct sampling to the UHF-VHF weak signal world. This all-mode transceiver is loaded with innovative features that are sure to keep you busy: faster processors, higher input gain, higher display resolution, and a cleaner signal. 4.3-inch color touchscreen display, real-time high-speed spectrum scope and waterfall display, smooth satellite operation with 99 satellite channels, dual watch operation, and full duplex operation in satellite mode. The ICOM IC7300 changed the way entry-level HF is designed. This high-performance, innovative HF transceiver with a compact design will far exceed your expectations. RF direct sampling, 15 discrete bandpass filters, large 4.3-inch color touchscreen, real-time spectrum scope, and SD memory card slot. Visit ICOMAmerica.com/amateur for more information on all the great ICOM radios.
And again, we want to thank ICOM for supporting Ham Nation here on the Ham Radio Crash Course, and remind everybody that 2 times a month, that's right, you can enter their free giveaway. They'll do 2 giveaways, 3 people each, of swag, ICOM products, and once a month, they give away a radio. This month's winner goes to Philip H, AE4PH, and then the swag giveaway winners for this week, this show, are Trevor Sheets, KN6HES, Scott Cook, KB5UZB, George Adam, KN6OBX are the big winners. So make sure you go and click that Enter Now button that you see right on the screen, and you can join. Let me catch up on some odds and ends just as we kind of hit the midpoint of the show. We will be doing the Discord after chat for those of you who haven't made a contact with someone yet to get on to the certificate for the 500th episode. I'll be running FT8. We are live now with our Ham Nation t-shirts at hamtactical.com. If you want one of these, I'll be wearing this at Huntsville along with some of the other shirts that are available at hamtactical.com. And lastly, he's not here, but he's out making contacts. There's Randy. Go ahead, Amanda.
He sent me this email. He's like, I just have to say, I don't know, you're running FT8. I don't know if these people are trying to work me because I'm giving them a Ham Nation certificate or not, but I've racked up 500 contacts now, and he's going at it again. So he's just going crazy. Thank you so much, Randy. And Joe is racked up about the same amount. So Joe will tell us that on his segment. But he's having a blast, and he just wanted to show us all and all of you guys watching gals that he's having a fun time. So thanks, Randy.
Yeah,
on FTA working.
I'll give everybody my final number after the after chat. Now, I'm not going to be going for very long today because I've got to do the podcast with my wife and pack the rest of my stuff to get on the plane Friday, because I have a long flight from Southern California to D.C. to get to Huntsville.
What?
So very excited for that. So I'm going to be doing some video editing on the Skyways coming out to Alabama. Anyway, let's throw it over to Don and see what he's up to. Take it away, Don.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about ICOM, and I want to talk a little bit more about Huntsville and something that happened with ICOM and Huntsville about 3 years ago now, I guess. If you remember, pull that first that first Pearson picture up, if you would. That is when the Pearson family, we have Andrew, the dad, in the middle, and then we have Blake and Ryan on either side. Brand new hams, had been hams for way less than a year. They won the ICOM 7610 as the grand prize right there, and they have put that thing on the air, and they've been extremely active. Well, here's something kind of cool. KN4VKY, which is Blake Pearson's little brother, KN4VKW, Ryan is in Little League, and Ryan's Nolensville Little League baseball team has been on a winning streak. First, this was from an email that I got from Andrew, and I got them both. I got two of the three because, of course, Ryan is out playing ball. I got them in the Ham Nation 500 log, so good on you guys. Okay, First, they won their District 7 tournament June 29th. Then they went to the Tennessee State Little League tournament. You can go ahead and scroll through some of these picks. And they went undefeated to win state championship July 15th. Then they represented the state of Tennessee in the Southeast Regional Tournament last week in Warner Robins, Georgia. They played 6 games in 6 days in extremely hot Georgia weather, and they won the Southeast Regional Championship. Hooray. And lived the 12-year-old dream of now playing in the Little League World Series in Williamsport, PA. Ryan is the team shortstop. He is number 7. You see him there circled in red. We'd love it if you'd tune into ESPN Network and support Team Tennessee in the black and yellow World Series uniforms, and showing you the true ham family that they are. The intent is in between games, scan the HF bands for Blake and his dad, Andrew, KN4VKX. They're going to set up a portable HF station and try to make QSOs from Williamsport. So support Team Tennessee.
That is so cute.
That's cool.
Wow. Isn't that just the neatest?
Yeah.
I mean, just the
That'll
coolest,
be great.
Just the coolest family ever. I'm so proud to know these guys and call them my friends. And anytime I can talk, I've talked to them several times on HF. And let me tell you something. That 7610 sounds so good. So good. And if anyone wants to buy my 7600 so I can get a 7610, that thing's for sale. So that's my goal, is to get a 7610.
Yeah.
So there you go. Good on the Pearsons, Team Pearsons, and Team Tennessee going for the Little League World Series. Watch them on ESPN. I believe the first game may be tomorrow, I think. I'm not sure.
The girls were on last night, and it was really cute. They're very talented. Wow. That's all I have to say.
As they used to say, check your local listings or check your theater for a newspaper near you. And now let's go ahead and get into the news of the week, if we can, from Amateur Radio Newsline, and a little bit of solar juice from Dr. T. From Amateur Radio Newsline report number 2285, this is Ham Nation Headlines for Wednesday, August 18th, 2021. In Northern California, nearly 1 month after its flames began, the Dixie Fire has become the second largest wildfire in the state's history. One group of radio amateurs stepped up to keep the lines of communications open for local firefighters when communications failed.
The Lake Almanor Emergency Radio Net was on the air, trading real-time information with one another and neighbors. Hams were monitoring 7.199 megahertz and conducting their emergency net on 147.42 simplex. They also jumped in to help the Peninsula Fire Department troubleshoot their problems when the main firehouse radio failed, along with repeater issues. Mark Burnham, K6FEJ, one of the net's members, said that modified 2-meter radios had to be installed in the fire chief's vehicle for backup and at the firehouse crew's quarters. The hams also set up a scanner on the main fire frequency near the firefighters' sleeping quarters so that they would be able to hear calls. By the middle of the second week of August, the Dixie Fire was declared the largest wildfire burning in the United States. It had already destroyed nearly 500,000 acres and was only 21% contained. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Randy Sly, W4XJ.
The music world and the amateur radio world are both grieving the loss of a friend.
Robert Ringwald, K6YBV, was a lifelong amateur radio operator who also made his mark in the jazz world as a jazz ambassador and co-organizer in 1974 of California's first Sacramento Jazz Festival, where his band was a headliner. A professional jazz pianist, he was also an enthusiastic radio amateur. First licensed in 1957, he soon became adept in CW, which he identifies on his QRZ page as his most frequent mode. Bob became a silent key on August 3rd. He was especially proud of his daughter, actress Molly Ringwald, and took great pains to keep things authentic when she portrayed an amateur radio operator in one episode of the NBC sitcom The Facts of Life. Bob wrote, "Naturally, the writers had Molly's lines all wrong. I volunteered to write the ham talk to be authentic, and they gratefully accepted." Molly also used her father's call sign in that episode. With his passing, Amateur Radio Newsline has also lost a friend. Bob Ringwald was a frequent contributor of story ideas that listeners have heard each week. He died at the age of 80. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Ralph Squillace, KK6ITB.
A firm co-founded by a radio amateur has just merged with a technology giant, SpaceX.
SpaceX, Elon Musk's giant California-based space technology company, has acquired a satellite communications company co-founded by an amateur radio operator. The merger makes Swarm Technologies a wholly owned subsidiary of SpaceX. Swarm, which specializes in Internet of Things technology and low-cost satellite connectivity, has asked the Federal Communication Commission to transfer control of its Earth and space station licenses. Swarm was founded in 2016 by Ben Longmire, KF5KMP, and Sarah Spangelo. In 2020, the company launched its first dozen commercial satellites, established ground stations in Alaska, New Jersey, Washington State, Guam, the Azores, and elsewhere, and began expanding market access. Swarm is licensed in non-voice, non-geostationary mobile satellite service, operating in the bands between 137 to 138 MHz and 148 to 149.95 MHz. In 2020, Swarm Technologies placed second in the most innovative space companies list created by Fast Company. The top spot went to SpaceX. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Sel Emby, KB3TZD.
And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news for 4 decades and counting at arnewsline.org. With Randy Sly, W4XJ, Ralph Squillace, KK6ITB, Sel Emby, KB3TZD, Karen Eve Murray, KD2GUT at the news desk in New York, and our news team across the globe. I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW. 7-3. We'll see you next time here on Ham Nation. Now, here's the solar update from Dr. Tamitha Skov, WX6SWW.
We go from a spotless sun to a bunch of sunspots emerging on the Earth-facing disk, and a snake-like filament begins to rotate into Earth view. Those stories and more in the news this week. Space weather this week stays a bit on the calm side, but that doesn't mean the sun isn't giving us some fun stuff to look at. As we take a look at our front side disk, you can see we actually didn't have all that much going on early in the week. We did have region 2853, but at first it wasn't even a sunspot. It was just a plage region. It got promoted to a sunspot, and then around the 12th, oh my goodness, suddenly all these sunspots started coming up. We had region 2854, 2855, 56, and now 57. And it's like, oh my goodness, where did all these regions come from? Now, it's not like they're growing all that fast, and that's not the issue. The issue is just that there's so many of them, and they all seem to be from the new solar cycle. So this is really good news. So we are going to be watching to see whether or not they really start boosting that solar flux, and of course, whether or not they start growing fast enough to become big flare players. But for right now, they're kind of calm and quiescent, but it's sure giving us something to kind of keep our eyes peeled out for. Now, on top of that, we also have, if you look off into the east and the north, we do have kind of like a filament, this snake-like filament, and I will talk a bit more about that as we take a look at the sun's far side here up in a few minutes. Switching to our M-flare threat meter, you can see by the X-ray flux that it's still sitting kind of low. We're sitting just below the B-class floor, and therefore by proxy the solar flux also continues to be low. You do see that we've popped a few C-class flares, some low C-class flares. These have all been from region 2853, and that's that big bright region on the Earth-facing disk. But you know what? It's not really growing all that much, so we're not expecting any big flares from that region. We also haven't seen any solar storms being launched, and therefore we're just kind of expecting the same kind of thing. And even as the new regions have been growing over the past couple days, we're not seeing a big rise in the X-ray flux. We're not going to see a big rise in the solar flux. We're still sitting in the low 70s, low to mid 70s for solar flux, which means marginal radio propagation on Earth's day side, and likely these kind of conditions will continue. Switching to our solar storm conditions, we've actually been pretty quiet over the past couple weeks. In fact, the last time we actually hit storm levels was clear back on August 2nd, and that was from that complicated configuration of solar storms that hit Earth. Sadly, though, they didn't last all that long, and that was because the configuration of the solar storms weren't all that good. We got a little bit of aurora, but not all that much. Too bad, especially since then we've only seen a couple small pockets of fast solar wind, like on the 7th. That bumped us up and we got a little bit of aurora at high latitudes, and then it kind of quieted back down, and we've been kind of just bumping from unsettled conditions to quiet conditions really over the past couple weeks. And sadly, these conditions are going to continue because we don't have any solar storms in the forecast that are going to hit Earth. So what else does our sun have in store for us this week? Well, this is Stereo A. It's our partially far-sighted monitor. You can see here's Earth, here's the sun, and here's Stereo A staring at the sun, well, just a little bit from the side. And when we take a look at Stereo's view, you can see that big bright region that's rotating to the west limb in Stereo's view. That's region 2853, and you can see just behind it a few bright regions emerging. Those are regions 2855 and 2857, and you can watch those things continue to grow in Stereo's view, but you haven't seen them launch any solar storms. But what's really interesting is taking a look at the east limb in Stereo's view. Do you see that dark kind of finger-like thing coming up? That's that bright filament I was telling you about, and it's really kind of in a complicated space because just to the right of it looks like there might be a dark finger-like coronal hole, and that makes it unstable. And then just to the east of it, the left of it, it looks like there might actually be a bright region, maybe a remnant bright region. So that region, the whole thing kind of looks like it's a bit unstable, which means we might get this thing launching as a solar storm here in the near future. Who knows if it's going to be Earth-directed or not, but we're definitely keeping our eyes on it. Meanwhile, we also have what looks to be a remnant bright region in the southern hemisphere as well. So all of these new bright regions, along with the new regions that have been emerging in Earth view, they could be boosting that solar flux for us and boosting that marginal radio propagation even higher up to hopefully pretty soon get us close to that good range. Switching to our solar storm conditions and aurora possibilities over the coming week, we aren't really anticipating all that much when it comes to space weather this week. We don't have any real fast solar wind on the way, nor do we have any solar storms that are Earth-directed. So at high latitudes, NOAA's only expecting unsettled conditions, but up to about a 20% chance of a minor storm due to kind of some unsettled conditions and a little bit of fast solar wind that might reach us from that northern coronal hole that's going to be rotating in through, I can't say the Earth strike zone, but rotating closer to the west limb. So that's going to be expected at high latitudes. At mid latitudes, though, we're really only expecting quiet to maybe unsettled conditions with only about a 10% chance of active conditions. And this will last easily throughout this entire week, unless, of course, we get a solar storm that's launched towards Earth. So the space weather this week remains a bit on the quiet side. Even though we do have quite a few bright regions on the Earth-facing disk, including 4 sunspots that have been emerging over the past few days, they're really not all that flare active, and they haven't boosted the solar flux all that much because they're just not growing that quickly. So amateur radio operators and emergency responders, well, we're sitting in the low 70s to mid 70s for solar flux, and this means marginal radio propagation on on Earth's day side, and likely that is going to continue throughout this next week. So you're just going to have to hang in there. Hey, at least we're not seeing any radio blackouts, so that at least is good news. Now, also, we aren't seeing any solar storms that are Earth directed, and we don't really have much in the way of fast solar wind. We do have that northern polar coronal hole, but it's really not going to give us all that much, and definitely nothing in mid-latitude. So aurora photographers, you're just going to have to kind of, relax for a few days. But we are watching that filament that's going to be rotating into Earth view here in the next few days, and that could possibly launch as a solar storm. So we're going to be keeping an eye on it, because if that's the case, who knows, we might get some aurora in about a week or so. Now, also, you GPS users, well, there's not a lot of disturbance when it comes to radio blackouts, and there's not a lot of disturbance when it comes to fast solar wind or solar storms. So, that's really good news for GPS reception, and it should look good for you pretty much all over the globe. I'm Tamitha Skov, the Space Weather Woman. Thank you for watching.
Excellent, Dr. T. Thank you so much. We do appreciate everything that you do for us. Make sure you check out her website, which is spaceweatherwoman.com. Also, you can see her video reports on YouTube. Tamitha Skov is the name of the channel. And also, you need to follow her on Twitter at Tamitha Skov. And speaking of Twitter, I'm looking at my Twitter feed right here. This is from Ham Talk Live. Our friend Neil Rapp. He's got a little show he's got over there called Ham Talk Live, oddly enough. And it says, tune into Ham Talk Live with me, Don Wilbanks, and Faith Hanna, KD3Z, tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is 8 p.m. for those of you in the central part, and you can do the math wherever else you live. At hamtalklive.com, also, you can call in with your questions and comments. The number is 859-982-7373, because, of course, it would be. And you can do that live during the call-in segment of the show, or you can also tweet us at Ham Talk Live. So there you go. We'll see you tomorrow night, or we'll talk to you tomorrow night on Ham Talk Live with Neil, myself, and Faith Hanna Lee. And there's some new stamps out now that Joe picked up, and I think Amanda picked up as well. And they have all kinds of really cool solar stuff on these new stamps you can get from the post office.
Those stamps are amazing. They're
Dr. T
gorgeous.
approved. Do you have them? Do you have them in front of you, man?
I don't. I left them at work.
I bet Joe does. Joe's got everything in front of him.
They're upstairs.
Well, of course they are. Why wouldn't they be?
One of them actually shows sunspots, and you guys, I had to send out a lot of QSL cards that I've been catching up, and I'm like, okay, so I need the geekiest stamps that you have available. And then I take a step back and I look at the display and I'm like, oh my God. And I turn around to the people in line behind me. Do you see these? These are the most beautiful stamps in the world. I need these.
I want, listen. Yeah, they're really cool.
I was freaking out.
Yeah, all the different like false color images that you see behind her with the purples and the golds and the reds and the greens and all that. They're all on these stamps now you can get at the post office. So by all means.
Very iridescent and
cool.
Almost holographic and just
gorgeous.
Beautiful. Go to your don't. I feel terrible sending them out, but
I was just there. I should have got some.
You don't pay everything online, for crying out loud. You're going to send birthday cards and stuff like that, and QSL cards with your SASE, which would be perfect for all of you who are sending me Ham Nation cards. So go get you some at the post office near you. And I think we're going to flip over to Joe, my old Huntsville roommate, for when the days before my wife started coming. Well, we had some fun at Huntsville, didn't we, rooming up together?
Oh, we really did. And it was a great time.
Has the statute of limitations passed? Because I'm not sure we can mention some of this stuff.
The show's only supposed to be an hour, Don. I don't know if we...
The stuff I remember was really good.
And they demolished that place, too. So.
Now the real story comes out.
After we were there, they had to demolish it. All right. And I made several contacts. I did everything on FT8 this time. You can see the Tough book behind me, and that's where I was operating FT8 for the special event. And if somebody sends me a card, I will also send a personal one as well if they work me. Did get lots of DX as well, but we're going to talk about soldering irons right now. And this is kind of a different kind of soldering iron. And so we're going to start off with that, and let's see if we can see that. All right. And there they are. And what we're looking at is 3 different gas-powered soldering irons. Now, what these things are powered by is the pressurized butane that you can get for refillable lighters. And all 3 of these are powered by the same fuel. Now we'll start off with the left one. Now you notice there's a big size difference in these things too. The one on the left is the ISOTIP 7971 Pro 50, and it sells for $30.99. And it's a pretty small one. Actually, Radio Shack years ago used to sell that model, and it's now sold by ISOTIP. And that one, I think, is also available from DX Engineering. The one in the middle comes from Harbor Freight, and we'll talk about each one in more detail here in a little bit. That one's the biggest one. And believe it or not, it's only $24.99, and we'll come back to that one. And the one on the right is a Portasol, and this is an older one that's not available anymore, but I have it out there as an example. And you can see the 2 outer ones have quite a bit of wear on the tips. And the reason we're going to use a soldering iron like this is, who wants to schlep a line cord up the tower when you're working on antennas? You really don't want to have that. And the other problem you have is that a pencil iron, or even sometimes a solder gun, cannot retain the heat because you have wind up there or outdoors anywheres. And so that kind of draws the heat down and makes it hard to make a good connection. These things pour out the heat, and they're absolutely incredible for this. I've soldered PL259s while on a tower and things like that. I use them for antenna wires. So like on my 160 meter sloper, I have it wrapped around an insulator at the far end, and I solder that. And to do that with a regular pencil iron, well, you can't develop enough heat. This gets plenty hot, and so you just heat it up, and in less than 20, 30 seconds, it's ready to go, and it will heat up a connection good enough. And any of these 3 will work. And I even have another example of one as well. And any of these 3 will get hot enough to solder connectors and antenna wires and stuff outdoors and up on your tower. So you have something really light, cordless. Your battery isn't going to run out. It runs on gas. Yes, it has a finite time as well, but it seems to last a lot longer than the battery type. So let's go on, and we'll take a look at the small one first. And I've used this quite a bit outdoors for the last several years. Once again, that's the ISOTIP 7971, which sells for about $31. And the way this one works is, you'll see kind of a silver lever in the middle of it, and you move that over, and you can hear the gas start. And it has a striker that's on the cap, and it's kind of like the flint in a Zippo lighter. And it just shoots sparks, and you shoot those sparks into those openings on the tip, and it ignites the fuel. And then you'll see flame kind of come out of it for a while, and then later on, as the catalyst works, it turns bright orange, and it gets that tip really hot really quick. Now, a lot of these also have other types of tips that is not a soldering tip necessarily, but it can become a torch that you can use also, which is really good for soldering ground wires and things like that when you don't want to concentrate that on a tip. Once again, the Portasol is a little bigger one. They have newer versions of this that, instead of also having the flint striker on the top, they have what's called a piezo striker, which is another button on the opposite end of the on-off switch. And most of these, this one in particular, controls the amount of heat by turning the base. Others have levers and so forth to control that. But the strikers seem to be going out and more towards the piezo igniters. It's become a little more popular. This one is the newest one that I found. This is comes under the Schneider name, and it is sold at Harbor Freight. And of all these things, it's the biggest, but it's also the least expensive. And it's probably about the most complex to start up, because it's of safety valves. You'll see a tiny little red button close to us, and you got to push that in at the same time as you move the lever down to start it up. And then there's a red kind of a lever on the back. And that one on the back, once it's ignited, you can lock it down so it stays on. And also kind of below the crown there is another lever which controls how much heat, how much gas you're using. And we'll show that a little closer there. You can see the temperature control right there, and you can see the locking switch there. So there's lots of safeties to keep that thing from being stuck on and burning up what you have in your tower bucket. This one you can get from DX Engineering. It's the ISOTIP 9010 Pro 90, and it's $49.99, so it's $50 for this thing. And it comes with extra tips and solder and a tip cleaner and things like that. So they aren't as expensive as a lot of people think, and an absolute must to have when you're doing outdoor antenna work. This is what it fuels on. The one on the left I got quite a while ago, and I think it cost me like $5 or so at a drugstore. But today I got the can on the right, which has lots more, and it was only $3 and something at Walmart, and it has at least 3 times or more as much fuel in it. So the fuel isn't expensive, and the irons aren't expensive. If you're talking about $3.70 or something for a can of fuel, and $24.99 for an iron at Harbor Freight, you can get it going really easily. And once again, you got to be careful, because once again, you're dealing with flame, although it's contained in the tip. But you got to make sure you're careful, because like any soldering iron, it gets hot, and these things get a lot hotter. And like I said, the advantage of these is they can deliver a lot of heat, and they can do it outdoors. And sometimes if the wind is blowing on it, sometimes they get even hotter. So being outdoors works really good for them. I've used this type of iron in the middle of the wintertime. It could be 0 degrees, and I can still solder a broken antenna wire with it. So that is my little spiel about gas-powered soldering.
What happened to Joe? We lost him there for a second. Oh, there he's back. Is he
I
back?
don't know. Somebody dropped me out. I don't know why. Somebody dropped me out, and I am here. I
promise. I didn't do anything. I promise.
Anyways, and that looks like fuel also, isn't it?
What do you got, Don? You're muted.
We're all muted because we didn't expect Joe to drop so fast.
No, I didn't. Yeah, this is a 320 mils. I keep my cigar lighters filled with this.
Nice.
That's a big one. I think I paid $8 for this one.
Yeah, and it's the same stuff that powers these things. And like I said, if you're going to have a nice soldering station for your bench, and like I showed before, that they don't have to be that expensive either. For $25, you can have a gas-powered iron and have the ability to fix stuff outdoors and not worry about delivering enough heat to your connections.
I had a iron that I was using go out on me, and I happened to have my little unit here, which is well, they're not this guy. He went out on me, this little mag torch guy. I ended up completing a pixie kit using that torch. So that was not ideal, but that is what I did. So, you make it work when you have to.
You bet.
Okay.
All right. And next up on the list is Amanda.
It is me. I have some great guests to introduce. Been talking to Bob and Joyce when they're on mountaintops for a long time, and they've been real troopers tonight. They've been here the whole show. Nobody knew they were even here. I'd like to introduce Bob and Joyce Whitty. That's K0NR and K0JJW. JJ, is it JJW or JJV? Now I'm
JJW.
Okay, I got it right the first time. Woo! All right. Well. Anyhow, if you've been working a lot of SOTAs lately, it's not coincidental. We've actually had the 10-year SOTA anniversary and the 10 days of SOTA. So Bob here and Joyce, boy, they're crazy. They're psycho. They will go up to all of these 14,000 mountains, foot mountains, and you guys did some other small ones. I know you went to like Dick's Peak and Jane's Peak and some that you didn't have to really hike into, but Bob's here to share kind of what they've been doing for the last 10 days and what SOTA's all about, and tell us some of its great contacts, no less. So Bob, go ahead and take it away.
Okay, let me pull up some pretty pictures here.
Okay.
Yeah, we've had a fantastic, I gotta do one more thing. How about that? Is that working?
Yep, just move that little Skype screen.
Oh yeah, I gotta.
Yep.
And I have to push you to the side.
Perfect.
Yeah, we've been having a great time. We had a 10-day event of Summits on the Air, and it was to recognize and celebrate the 10 years of Summits on the Air in Colorado. So it's very much a Colorado event, and it completed on Monday, and we're still putting the logs together, trying to figure out what the results are. So every year we do this thing called the Colorado 14er event. It's a 2-day weekend kind of thing, but this year our SOTA area manager Matt K0MOS had the idea of let's do something special for the 10-year anniversary. And so we said, okay, let's start with the Colorado 14er event, and then let's just extend it. So we'll have like a 10 days in August to do this, and that's what we did. And then we overlaid with that. We said, okay, let's have some kind of challenge here to really get people out and doing some activations and also doing some chasing, right? So Summits on the Air. If you're on the mountaintop, you're an activator. If you're contacting the mountaintops, you're a chaser. And so we said, okay, the activator challenge is activate 10. We got a 10-10-10 theme here. 10 or more, 10,000 foot or higher summits within those 10 days. And then the chaser challenge is very similar. Activate or chase activators on 10 different or more summits that are 10K or higher within those same days. And if you want to read more about that, you can go to our website and dig deeper into it. And so, we're kind of going 10 days to do 10 summits. Are we really going to do that? And we said, yeah, we can do that. And then we started looking at the calendar and realized, well, we only have 6 days to do it based on some other commitments we had. So we said, okay, I got out the list of summits and we started planning and plotting, and we said, okay, let's start with Pikes Peak. We'll do Mount Evans. Those are both 14ers, but they're pretty easy to get to. They have roads that get you pretty close to the top. And then these other two, the Puma Peak and Little Peak, are hike up mountains, but they're real close together, so we could do those in the same day. And then Dick's Peak, I know, Amanda, you know where Dick's Peak is.
Yeah.
And there's a couple other unnamed peaks close by. So we actually did 3 that day. That was a long day. And then we went up to Mosquito Peak and London Mountain. Those are 13ers, again, pretty close by. And so we did both of those in a day. And then we wrapped up with South Monarch Ridge. That was kind of a slacker event because there's actually a gondola you can ride up from Monarch Pass. So that one was not too difficult. So here's a map of almost all of Colorado, not the whole deal. And here's kind of the peaks that we did. So there's Pikes Peak down there. It's just west of Colorado Springs.
America's Mountain.
Yeah, America's Mountain. Thank you. And then Mount Evans, like I said, you can drive up both of those, at least most of them. Puma and then Little Puma are right next to each other. Dick's Peak and 2 other unnamed summits. Those were between 10 and 11,000 feet in elevation. Mosquito in London, and then wrapped it up with Monarch Ridge. So we did get our 10 summits in 6 days actually. So we were pretty happy with that.
Wow, that's actually pretty amazing. And I got to work you a couple of those days because we were out camping and we were near Dick's Peak. We were not on Dick's Peak, so that was really a fun time. And it was nice. I didn't get to hear you because I was at work when you guys were actually there activating. But one question is, so SOTA is based on making contacts based on height. I don't believe that's true. I think there's many mountaintops throughout all of the United States and the world that qualify as a SOTA, not depending on their height. Is that correct?
No, but well, it always depends on the scoring of the summit always depends on the elevation of that summit. And as you can imagine, the specific rules for Colorado are like a lot different than say Georgia, right? Because Colorado, there's hardly a peak below 5,000 feet in elevation, whereas that's a pretty high elevation for Georgia. So the actual what qualifies as a particular height, getting particular points varies with the different location. And then the key issue is really the prominence of the peak, that it has to basically poke up enough to be a unique summit, and somebody has to go through and look at all the topo data and figure all that out. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Absolutely. And that's how you can have a SOTA in Louisiana and a SOTA in Colorado. And who's this handsome fella?
Some guy I know. That's me on Pikes Peak with my favorite little 3-element Yagi. You know, a lot of SOTA is done on HF, but Joyce and I tend to do VHF, UHF for SOTA, and that's what we did for this event as well. And there were a lot of guys on 2 meters, 70 centimeters, and we even did a little 1.2 gig work on this thing. So we had a good time.
Yeah, and you actually made some pretty significant 1.2 contacts, didn't you?
Yeah, my new, or both of us got our new personal best on 1.2. I've got a picture of that in a minute. Yeah, here's us out hiking up the Pumas, and we've been doing this together a lot, and it's turned out to be a really fun activity for the two of us.
Now, Joyce, you almost look too happy. You just look thrilled to be out there.
You have any fun out there?
Oh, I do. I love it. I come alive when I'm on top of a summit.
Yeah, and you know, when I talked to you guys on Sunday, and I can't remember what date it was now. It's been a day or so. I heard Joyce on there talking to another, I think probably friends maybe, and she said, and her voice is cracking and crackling. She's like, I'm losing my voice. I've been talking so much, Joyce. So it was really cute to make contact with you guys while you're on Mount Evans. So you were working the radio a lot, weren't you?
Yep. Yeah. Yep, I did a fair amount also. Yeah.
All right,
yes,
where's this?
This is that's Mosquito Peak. This is pretty close to Mosquito Pass if you've ever been up there. And as you can see, the sky is, well, it should be pure blue, but it's pretty smoky because we're getting a lot of the smoke from the western fires coming in. That's one of the reasons she's having trouble with her voice. It kind of slows her down there. This is on London Mountain, just kind of looking out there, enjoying the scenery.
Yeah, not so much smoke there.
And there's Joyce hiking.
It's much clearer there.
Right.
Yeah, and this this is over 10 days, so this day was pretty clear. That was on London Mountain, and then we're so the mountain is kind of, I'm taking Joyce's picture. The mountain's behind me, or the summit's behind me, and I think we're still on our way up here. And then that pointy one over on the right in the distance is actually Mosquito Peak. So we had done that earlier in the day. Wow. So it's really nice mountains up there. And the weather was fantastic. We didn't have to worry about thunderstorms at all. It's really good. This is me coming down London Mountain. You can see my 70 centimeter Yagi hanging off the backpack there. And that again is Mosquito Peak off in the distance.
You know, I have to say that this doesn't show like the Colorado that everyone's used to coming to, like Rocky Mountain National Park, where they see all of the pine trees and all of the things, because you're so high up. You're above the tree line, so there's no more trees. It's only rock.
Yeah, it gets pretty. There's a reason why they call them Rocky Mountains. It gets pretty rocky up there. And so we knew there were going to be a lot of VHF, UHF type folks on the summits these 10 days. So we said, let's do some work with 1.2 gig, because it was really a good chance to do summit to summit activity there. So we did that. And I think we had, we had a number of summits activated, maybe like 6 or 7 on that band, and on different days, and quite a few different activators. It worked out pretty well. And then I was going to show this. David, W0ADV, really strong climber. He was down in the San Juan Mountains, and he got up on Sunshine Peak, which is a 14er. And then we were up on Mount Evans, and we worked him with the 1-watt handheld radio down there with a Yagi antenna. I'll show you a picture in a second. And that turned out to be 152 miles. That's the best we've done on 1.2 gig. So we were pretty happy with that. That was pretty cool.
That is amazing. And you made a couple more that weekend as well, didn't you?
Yeah, we worked actually we worked David on a bunch of different mountains, and then but this was the longest, so that was kind of the high point. Here's David on the other end. He on Sunshine, we had a hard time making the contact, but he found if he pointed his Yagi right at that notch off in the distance, that seemed to be the sweet spot, and we just barely made a contact with him, which was cool. And then there's David standing on that, I think the same peak, pointing his antenna.
What mode were you on? FM?
Yeah, we were on FM. Wow. What the SOTA guys have really latched onto is that a little Alinco tri-band radio. You can get 2 meters, 70 centimeter, and 23 centimeters, or 1.2 gig in one radio, and so it's really handy for SOTA. But it is FM, so you don't have the advantage of single sideband or CW.
Can you show the Alinco again? I think you had it on a slide. Go back for a second. I want to make sure everybody saw that. Yeah. So that's a tri-band with 23 cents. Okay. Well, shoot, I'm spending a lot of money today on Ham Nation, so thank you very much.
That's good. That's good. And I think it's the cheapest way to get on 23 centimeters with kind of an off-the-shelf. Right. People talk. They say, "Well, let's get some transverters and connect it to some kind of single sideband radio and all that." Well, that all adds up, right? You got it's more stuff to carry and more cabling and all that. And so this is kind of the compact mode.
Great.
Did you have any fun on the summits? What was your most fun thing?
Well, I really enjoyed the female to female. We call them F to Fs. You do the S to S, which is summit to summit, but I'm always looking for the F to Fs. And I had one chaser, Sharon, KC0PBR.
Oh, I know Sharon.
Yeah. She chased me on at least 5 of the summits. And so that's excellent. It was really good. And I had at least three different females that were chasing me.
Terrific.
So that makes
really is. And the other thing is that I think, I don't know if you really expressed this, Bob, about the 14ers part being put into this event, is that when you do the 14ers, you hike to your summit. You don't just drive to your summit. Is that correct?
Well, it depends.
Okay.
Like I said, Pikes Peak has a road up the top, right? So we'll take the road up, and then we'll do a little short hike off away from the parking lot or whatnot. But some people would choose to hike up Pikes. It's a pretty serious hike if you come from the city down below. It's pretty hefty. So SOTA is actually pretty adaptable. There are a lot of easy peaks, and then there's harder peaks to do, and you can sort of scale your energy level to whatever summits are out there.
Wow, are rattlesnakes a problem when you're out on summits?
Not too much. I'd say most of the summits I'm on or we're on are above rattlesnake country.
Okay.
But some of the lower ones, yeah, you could see rattlesnakes certain times of the year.
I see them down in SoCal all the time. Gordo, they're in our backyard. I see them all the time out here on doing SOTA.
No, thank you.
Yep.
They're in our backyard too, and some of our smaller peaks, repeater sites. Let's put it that way. Yes, there's some rattlers there.
Yeah.
Not fun. Bob, was that the end of your PowerPoint? I'm sorry, we kind of interrupted
that's
you.
Everything
okay.
We had.
So again, the only other question was what antennas and radios are you using? So just let's sum it up this way. What do you put in your backpack? What do y'all haul up every time?
Well, we have quite the system. First of all, Joyce carries all the food and water and the
Very
creature
important.
comforts, and that's actually most important, I think, in the end. And then I carry the radio gear, and we almost always have that 3-element 2-meter Yagi antenna with us. And then depending on which bands we expect to work, we'll take the 70-centimeter Yagi or that Comet 1.2 gig Yagi. And then we've got a few other antennas. We have like omnidirectional ones we can put up that the Yagis really help. I mean, you got to have that extra gain if you really want to make all the contacts possible. But sometimes it's no fun worrying about pointing the antenna, and you just want to stick a vertical antenna up and listen. You can hear in all directions. So we've got a couple of those we use, like the roll-up J-pole antennas, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I think I mentioned earlier, but a lot of the other SOTA guys are out there, stringing up wires for HF, right? They'll put up like half-wave or longer wire antennas and get on the HF bands. We don't do much of that.
Well, again, I don't know how, unless you're stringing it to your vehicle and you're bringing a bunch of mast with you. There's no trees, so how is this possible?
Well, above tree line, the really popular thing is a collapsible fishing pole. They often call them crappie poles. They'll collapse down to maybe 2 feet and extend out to 20 feet, let's say.
Oh wow!
And so they'll just string their wire up using that. Works pretty well.
So another question: how long have you guys been YouTube and doing this?
Wow, I don't know. 10 years?
Probably.
Yeah, 10 years.
Yeah.
When we first started out, I would always go along, and I would just kind of sit around and kill time while he was playing radios. And then one day I realized, if I'm going to do all the work, I might as well get credit for this too.
Yeah.
So then I started making the contacts, and so I was delayed on Mountain Goat a couple years because of that. But yeah, I enjoy it just as much as he does, I think, at this point.
Yeah, definitely.
I think you do too. And I heard you talk to a lot of people when you guys are on Mount Evans. You're really scratchy when you're on Pikes Peak to me when we were out there camping, but heard you clean and clear. And boy, you guys were popular. And it was really nice that you made it two days this last time around. So that was really fun. But is this what you got into ham radio to do, Joyce, or did you just get into ham radio so you could talk to Bob while he was on mountaintops?
Well, we started out when we first got married. Bob had his license, but I didn't. And he was so busy building a repeater from scratch and he was with his buddies all the time. And I learned real quick, if I was going to be part of this, I needed to get my license. So I had my own private tutor, and he helped me get my license, and we've been doing it together ever since.
Oh, that is really neat. Well, thank you so much for the experiences and everything else. And never, if you hear those SOTA stations, I'm just going to say HF, VHF, UHF, work them. I switch back and forth between VHF and UHF to work some of the same stations because they really want to get you all in their logs. But if you happen to have a glimpse of hearing them, just try to get them in their logs. I had a lot of fun when it just happened to be that we were out camping while that event was going on. So we got to hear a lot more people, which was really fun. So it was really great hearing the two of you, as well as some people that were on the ridge near your guys' cabin. And I can't remember the name of that ridge to save my life, but I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. But they were really strong all day long too. So anyhow, thanks you guys for joining us this evening. Bob, one more thing. I'm gonna give you a plug here. Don't forget to buy Bob's book. Look for it on Amazon. Go ahead and give us the title of it.
It's called VHF Summits and More, and it's all about this kind of activity of going out, messing around the mountains, and doing SOTA. And we've started. Hey, there you go. Thanks, Josh. And
yeah, Josh is awesome.
Great.
Yeah, so it's all this kind of activity. It's just about going out into the mountains, having fun with ham radio.
Absolutely. Well, again, thanks you too. I hope to hear you again soon. We won't be out camping again until Labor Day, so I don't know if you're doing anything then, but hopefully we'll hear you. All right. Gonna break it from here. I'm gonna send it back to Josh. Josh has a thing he has to do. 7-3, Joyce and Bob. You can stick around or you can hang up. It's up to you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Good
Great
stuff.
job.
Okay, we got to talk, everybody. All right. So, 500th episode, right? We gave away that beautiful IC705, AH705, and LC192 backpack. We picked a winner. I contacted them twice, and it's been over a week, and I haven't heard anything.
What?
Yeah. So stipulation in the whole thing, and by the way, this is why you marry someone that helps bridge the gaps of your weaknesses.
Yeah.
My wife put all this together, the rules of the giveaway, and I'm really glad she did. Otherwise, this would be kind of an awkward thing. But we pick a winner, and then there's a winner notification period. Where is it? I want to make sure I mention this. So winner notification period is 72 hours upon receiving the notice that they won, and I sent 2. And it's been well over 72 hours. So what does that mean?
You lose.
Well, it means we're picking another winner. So here you go. I got to get my clicking finger ready.
It's lucky night.
So I bet you didn't expect this. I bet you didn't expect this, everybody in the chat. Here we go.
This is exciting.
I'm running it. 955. All right. Who's 955? Let's see. Oh, yes. What's the line?
Man,
the suspense
we
is
need a
killing
drum
me.
roll or something.
I hope it'll last. All right.
In anticipation.
That's right. Let's see if I can do this in one shot and grab the name and the call sign. Let's see if that'll copy over. Oh boy, here we go. Let's see if it'll... It did. All right, we're gonna... Here we go. Let's just go ahead and turn this on. Here is the winner.
Oh. This is so exciting.
Here we go.
I know.
Jeffrey Roach, KN6COE.
Wow.
Jeffrey
Newham.
Roach. Newham, Jeffrey. Jeffrey Roach, you win the IC705 radio, the AH705 tuner, and the LC192 backpack. Jeffrey Roach, congratulations. I will contact you. Please respond to my email.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Please respond to my email. That would be really helpful.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, well, that was the big thing. I thought that would
exciting. Maybe
it was a little cheeky waiting to the end, but yeah, I don't know.
No, that's cool.
Yeah,
That's
very good.
cool.
Well, Jeffrey, I will literally finish the show and email you so you can reply to me quickly. And if he's in the chat, that'd be even better. That'd be cool. Or maybe he's on the Discord. I don't know. We'll see. Anyways, what a great show. I have to say I'm very proud of this show because I made like no mistakes other than the mute thing, but that was because, we were jumping back to Joe. So I'm very proud of myself. But how does everybody else? What are your plans for the rest of the week? I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy too. I had the whole doc to get together. Last link was Dawn's link and smooth as melted butter. I liked it.
Hey, I put a picture of those stamps we were talking about in the Dropbox, Josh. If you want to grab those,
let me see if
it is so pretty.
While you do that, I'll tell you that listening to all the Summits on the Air stuff from Colorado and the 14,000 plus peaks, I'm feeling a little inadequate because down here, I Googled the highest point in Mississippi, and that would be the highest natural point in the state of Mississippi is 806 feet. It's Woodall.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
No. Now
we live at 5,300 feet. 5,300 is our home.
Yeah, the baseline. When you get off the plane, you feel yourself breathe when you get in Colorado territory.
I love this. Driscoll Mountain in Louisiana, checking in at an astounding 535 feet above sea level.
Is that
Driscoll
a SOTA?
Mountain is Louisiana's tallest point, even though it should be classified as more of a large hill.
Just like Nebraska.
Yeah, there's nothing, and if you spill a if you spill a container of BBs, you've just created the largest, the tallest point in Nebraska, just about.
My dad's at
We have
62,
to change our baking
6,200.
here. Like we have to bake differently because of the altitude. We can't even have the same hot water heaters as most people.
Hell, the city of New Orleans is 10 feet below sea level. Yeah. If you, it's so funny. You can stand like on the street in the French Quarter if you can see the levee, and when the river is high, you're actually looking up at the ships going by on the Mississippi River. It's crazy.
Oh my goodness.
Neat. It's neat. It's a neat place to live.
Don, I got to tell you, I pulled up those stamps. Those are too nice to ship. I got to say those.
I was like, man, you guys are special people that get those QSL cards because I'm feeling
those are neat. And those are all
3 extra books.
That's from Amanda's Facebook page. Those are all those are all stamps that she's sending out. Yeah, so someone's getting some cool stuff.
All right. Well, man.
And I really did do like the happy dance and like point to people behind me like, do you see these? These are the most amazing stamps I've ever seen.
You're selling stamps at the post office.
They're looking at me like, I'm just here
drunk,
for the...
Agnes. She's drunk. Just ignore her. She'll be out of here in a minute.
I was excited. The postal guy has probably worked there for like 28 years, and he was like, you owe me this much money.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Move along, lady.
Does anybody have anything to plug before we wrap things up? I want to make sure.
Just the nets. Everyone's on the air. I just turned on the amp, so I'm gonna get on the air 40 probably to help give some of those last minute contacts. Kevin and Steve are on the air. D-Star Net, they said they're gonna go until no one else checks in. So you got that one last night. And DMR, they're gonna do their typical net, and I bet they're gonna be the same way. Gonna try to get as many in the logs as possible. Go ahead, Gordo.
And this weekend, 10 gigahertz, part 1 of a 2-part ARRL contest, 10,000 megahertz and higher. So I guess I'll have to go to a summit to get that high. Oh, no, never mind.
Now,
Gordo, the dish ready.
Does Alinco have a radio that I could just go buy that'll do 10,000 gigahertz?
We all wish that on 10 gigs.
Or 10 gigs.
Transverters the whole way.
I wish I would have known that. I would have brought ours in for display. It's kind of mounted on a thing that we keep in our van, but it's interesting. It's a home brew thing, but anyhow, that's what I had to announce. Get on Discord as well. Get those certificates.
I'm literally going to go do FT8.
Everyone.
I'm going to go do FT8 right after the show, and I'll be on the Discord. Cool. This is your last chance for the Discord check-ins, by the way. We're only going to do it for an hour, and then we're closing it down so we can run the logs out. Joe, anything to mention?
Done.
Sorry.
Nope. And hope everybody has a great weekend coming up in Huntsville, and look forward to maybe making a few more FT8s tonight and then send the log in. But I did all FT8.
Social distance in Huntsville, you guys. Be safe.
Yes.
Don, were you going to say something? Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I'm done with the Ham Nation 500 stuff. I'm going to go hang out with my wife on the couch. But don't forget, Ham Talk Live tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Central, hamtalklive.com. And I'll give you the phone number again if you want to call in and actually congratulate our Young Ham of the Year, Faith Hannah. It's 859-982-7373, and it's hamtalklive.com. We'll be on there with her at 8 o'clock Central tomorrow night. So look forward to catching y'all listening on that. So that's it for me.
Okay. All right, everybody. I'll play you out. Thanks so much for watching. I'm going to head over to the Discord and make some contacts. It's been great hanging out with y'all. I hope you enjoyed the show today. 73.
73s.